All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kabbalah Café. So today we're going to speak about, as I wrote in the email, we're going to speak about Joseph. Now, and of course, connected with our text, which we've been studying, which I have right here, and we're going to pull this out in a little bit later. But I want to begin with the story of Joseph because I think for many of us, it's a story that resonates, and also because in synagogues around the world this week, we're going to start reading the Joseph story as we kind of go through the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. And so I think what's important to point out, as I wrote in the email, is that I don't know if you find someone in the 5 books of Moses, in the Torah, that is as, I don't know if the word is disadvantaged, but as hated upon, as, I don't know what the right word is, traumatized as Joseph. And there's a I think a particular and unique form of trauma that he goes through, which is the trauma of family turning against you. I mean, I would say it's one thing if, not to justify this, obviously, but it's one thing if strangers don't get you and, whatever, they turn against you. But imagine if your own family turns against you. We know famously, hey, Ellen, good to see you. Welcome. And we know famously the story of Joseph is that his brothers, as we read literally at the beginning of this week's Torah portion, his brothers are jealous. He gets the coat of many colors, or as was made famous in that Broadway production, the Technicolor Dreamcoat, right? He gets the coat of many colors, and his brothers don't, and he becomes jealous. Sorry, they become jealous, and then he tells them of his dreams, and he has 2 dreams. He dreams of grandeur. He dreams that they're all sheaves in the field, like represented as sheaves, bundles of wheat in the field. And all of their bundles are bowing down to his bundle. That's what he dreams. And then he tells his brothers. And the Torah tells us that his brothers they don't like him because of his dreams. And then he tells them another dream, that we were all represented as sun, moon, and stars in the sky. And all of you, the sun and moon and the other stars, bow down to my star. And again, the Torah says that they hated him even more because of his dreams and because of what he had told them. So they look at him clearly as a threat on many levels. Why is he a threat? I mean, if you want to look at it on a very basic level, we can make a very cogent argument for the following. There had been 2 generations of patriarchs and matriarchs, meaning Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rebekah. And in both of those instances, they had multiple children, but their legacy, as it were, let's say the Jewish legacy, flowed exclusively through only one of the children. Abraham had Ishmael and Isaac, and it only went through Isaac. And then Isaac had Esau and Jacob, and it only went through Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons. I mean, that's a lot of sons. He had 12 sons, what we know as the 12 tribes. And there was, according to some commentaries, a fear that there would only be one chosen child. There would only be one. And that Joseph was kind of positioning himself as the one to become the one to carry forth the legacy, and they would be left behind. And so on a very basic level, it's the sibling rivalry, this kind of like Game of Thrones almost, where you have this jockeying for these types of connections and these types of positions of not only greatness and leadership, but even just the idea of continuity. Who is going to continue the legacy? Now we know the way history has, bore itself out. We know without a shadow of a doubt that all 12 tribes, all 12 sons carried forth the legacy. And although it was one and one in the previous generations, it then diversified into all 12 sons. Hey, good morning. Good to see you. So that's what we know. But they didn't know that. We have the benefit of history's hindsight to be able to say, wow, they had nothing to worry about, because the plan was always that they should all carry forth the legacy. But they didn't know that. And what they did know was that their brother, Joseph, was the one that was the golden child. He was the golden child. He was the second to youngest, but the most beloved by his father. His father gives him special garments. His father studies with him in a special way that he doesn't the others. And, that creates a little animosity. And by the way, the Talmud says one should never give something to one child and not to the other. Unlike Jacob, who gave Joseph a coat of many colors, and look what happened. Oh, Dad, you just missed the parenting advice.
What?
Unbelievable. You just walked in right after the parenting advice. The Gemara says, the Talmud says, that a person should never give one child something and cut out the other kids. Because it creates...
Makes sense.
Makes like Yosef, like Yaakov, like Jacob and Joseph.
How about God giving Jews a lot of Christmas?
All right, listen. Also, by the way,
the Torah came after God.
Chosen.
One second. What, you don't think that that's created a little bit of a little beef over history? Yeah. That has. By the way, today we might call ourselves the Chosen Frozen. I think that might be the apt acronym. I don't think anyone has access to this thing.
Anybody can access.
I think it's so locked down. Who?
But the staff here, I saw some of the staff working.
Maybe they know how to do it.
The ladies.
You want to ask the ladies?
Oh, ask them if they know.
While you're gone, we'll get through all the good stuff.
Please, I get the parenting advice.
You're getting your jacket from your car.
Yeah, about that, right? He had one job. Okay, back to the story. So, on a very human level, one could say that the story of Joseph is a straight up cautionary tale of what happens when you favor one child over the other, or when at least the siblings believe that you favor one child over the other, whether it's true or not, it doesn't make a difference. It creates animosity, it creates discord, it creates disharmony, and it can ultimately end in something very nefarious and dangerous. And that's a very straightforward take. And that's fine. But of course, we're in a Kabbalah class. And since we're in a Kabbalah class, we're going to go much deeper into this. So let's look at it from the perspective of Joseph. And this is something that we've talked about very often in different classes. Joseph, on his end, is innocent, meaning he's not doing anything intentionally to rile up their jealousy. He's not favoring himself. He is almost naively, receiving his father's favor and gifts and then reporting, "Hey, Tony, good to see you." All right. She is adorable. Oh my gosh. So the very cute. So he is innocently receiving the gifts and then sharing with his brothers his dreams. And you almost get the sense that he is so naive and he doesn't even realize what his words are going to cause. I mean, is it possible? Ask yourself the question. Is it possible that somebody could be so innocent that they don't realize that what they're saying is triggering the other person? I think it's possible. He was innocently saying, like, guys, I had this cool dream. It's like a kid comes home from school and says, "Hey, I found this cool thing." And like the other siblings are like, "Oh, we didn't get it." So it came from a place of innocence. And yet it led to what happens next. Again, apologies about my voice. And what happens next is that he approaches his brothers one day and they decide they're going to get rid of him. First, they decide to kill him. And then they say, well, let's not kill him directly. Let's throw him into a pit. And then they say, well, let's not throw him into a pit. Let's sell him because at least we can get some money. And it's horrific. It's horrific. The idea of selling, like first, it's like human trafficking. It's like the worst of the worst. And by the way, in Torah law, this is a capital offense. Kidnapping and selling is not just off limits. It's actually a capital. You know what in the 10 Commandments? Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, tell me your name. Izzy, nice to meet you. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. You might want to keep your coat on. It's freezing in here. I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. I think you are not alone in that hope. Yes.
Slavery wise, you could actually buy someone from was enslaved or kidnapped, correct?
One second. the Torah, the concept of servitude in Torah is not the same as slavery.
Right.
Meaning excuse me.
Pay off a debt or something like that.
It's to pay off it. It's basically to work to pay off a debt, and in nothing.
Nobody knows.
Oh wow!
The ladies says they don't have the key. They can't do anything. The ladies that work here.
Which key?
Or thermostat. It should be like a thermostat. You can cover with. Some people say should talk to Ari. Ari, he's giving the class.
I don't know where that box is.
I think it's next to the. No.
All right. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on here today. Anyway, bottom line is,
I know where it is.
we for here.
Oh, no. For there.
All right.
No, for her house.
Yeah, exactly. which, by the way, we should probably just move to my house and call it a day. Shlomi, you got to stop by and bring everybody into a Kabbalah class. Yeah.
Luck. Enjoy the learning.
See you.
I didn't notice any Russian.
All right, back to the story. So you asked a good question. The idea of the servitude as discussed in Torah is completely different than what we would call slavery. First of all, if you had somebody that was working for you on that level, let's say like living in and working for you, like in the home. So Jewish law says you have to take care of them before you take care of yourself.
Right.
Like if you only have one, theoretically, if you have one pillow, they get the pillow. That's not the same as human trafficking as it's known to be, right? That's completely different. So Torah, in fact, in the 10 Commandments, in the second half of the 10 Commandments, when it says, do not kill.
You got murdered.
Do not murder, do not steal, do not commit adultery, etc. The stealing is not taking $5, that's not yours. It's kidnapping. It's straight up kidnapping. That is not okay. And so what happens here is that his brother, Joseph's brothers, decide that instead of killing him directly or even throwing him into a pit and letting him die, on his own in the elements, they're going to sell him as a slave and make some money. In fact, it was Yehuda, one of the brothers, who said, what benefit do we get if he just languishes in the pit? At least let's sell him and we'll get some geld, get some cash. It's crazy to wrap our heads around this. And today's yes? And what happened?
So the other room.
It doesn't control here?
If it's in this room on the other wall, I assume it controls the same space because this is only partial.
It's not a real wall.
If
it wasn't needed even, the plastic is broken.
That's even great. Somebody in a moment of desperation, listen, if this works, you can get yourself an extra bagel on the house.
It's bagel time.
Totally on the house.
I thought you were going to
Yeah.
I can get an extra hole of bagel.
Is that your coffee? It's an iced coffee. Just in case you're wondering. I really hope this kicks in. That would be really nice.
I think we are.
Is it? Psychologically. It's the power of the mind. By the way, everyone should close their eyes and imagine you're on the beach in the Bahamas.
It's really hot.
It's 85 degrees. All right, back to the story. So Joseph, the trauma of your family turning against the people that should love you turning against you, you can't even speak of such. Like, how do you even articulate that type of trauma? The people that should protect you, the people that should care for you, the people that should be there for you for your life, right? Your siblings. It's interesting because parents, the way the world works, parents are not always with you because they're older, right? And children, okay, they have their own lives to live and they're younger. But your siblings ideally should be those that are shoulder to shoulder, walking with you. And, they can relate to your experiences and hopefully you can laugh about, the time that it was freezing and the heat went out or whatever it is. You can relate to each other. And here you have siblings, 10 of them, ganging up on one. So then he's sold as a slave. This is this week's Torah portion. And he ends up in Egypt. He's actually sold multiple times on the way to Egypt. So it says, the commentaries say, if you read the verses carefully, he sold multiple times. And he eventually ends up in Egypt. and he's working for a man called Potiphar. And the Torah says, and I wrote this in the email, he was an ish matzliach. He was a successful man. And that adjective, successful, is not found in the entire 5 books of Moses, the entire Torah. No one else is referred to as successful other than Joseph.
What's the Hebrew first?
Ish matzliach.
Literally.
Literally.
Wow.
Ish matzliach. A man who was successful. Or matzliach. Success. Full.
Yeah, that's an odd term for that.
Yeah. Right? When was the last time? Abraham was successful. No, he wasn't. I mean, sorry, Abraham. He was very successful, I'm sure. He's not called successful. Adam and Eve, don't hear about them being successful. Noah built an ark, still not called successful. Not successful. Again, not that he wasn't, but he's not referred to as. It's an interesting phrase. I mean, think about it in even, Western parlance. When do we use the word successful? I would say typically it's with regards to money. Correct? I think so. I mean, yes, you might have, I don't know, I'm debating now if this actually worked, but you might have successfully turned on the heat. Might have. But usually success is used for the notion of wealth and career, yeah.
I have a question because from what I've been exposed to lately, when I use the word success and people that I've surrounded myself with, the word successful is usually considered, what do you define as success? So in this, it just makes me wonder if success is because what they wanted is what they saw, like expectations, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the previous examples, perhaps what they envisioned was not what actually ended up happening and thus not successful. Whereas perhaps what he envisioned through his dreams
was successful. I like that. Yeah, I like that. But what's interesting is that when it calls him Ish Matzliach, a successful man, it actually does it in the context of business. It's interesting. He was in Potiphar's home, and it says that this man Potiphar gave him control, even though this guy was the slave, but he gave him control of all the business affairs, and he was very successful. It says because God was with him, he was very successful. Bottom line is, he was successful.
And also, like sometimes, I mean, in the past when we were celebrating the 40 years for sure, I remember I was talking with my parents and we were commenting about like my dad knows that I knew he just started. It's amazing how successful he was and is in what he did in Georgia. I mean,
right.
It's like like I remember the first Jewish time I read had like 2 Chabad. Now it's like 2 pages of Chabad institutions in Georgia.
Right.
So that's also
including tech, which is making its way through the building today. Right.
So that obviously refers to success on the spiritual. I mean,
correct.
Physical and spiritual.
Correct. It's just interesting. It's interesting and it's ironic, but maybe it's not so ironic. Maybe that's the point. That the one guy that's kicked to the curb and worse so hard is the one guy that we read about being successful. And it's almost like this, I guess, I don't know that it's literal, but it's like riches to rags to riches story where he starts off, good as it were. And I don't know what the financial situation was, but he started off, with family. And then he has this, this fall from grace, as it were. This, I don't know if you call it a fall, but like he's literally abused and traumatized and sold and like whatever. And then he's somehow able to make for himself a life. And as the Torah defines it, a successful life. But then the story doesn't end there, because what happens next, as we all know, I think, is that the wife of the guy he's working for, right, who is Potiphar, I don't know what her name is, Potiphar's wife, takes a liking to him. And every day she says to him, be with me, etc. And he says, no. And it was one day that they were both alone in the house. And she once again puts the request or the offer through. And the Talmud says that day he was considering going ahead with it, but at the last moment he decided, not for me. It's not the right thing. He says no. He runs away. She grabs his jacket. She holds it, and she accuses him of assaulting her. And it says, this is again, all of this. This is not medrash. This is not commentary. This is all, if you read the verses from the Torah, this week's Torah portion, it's all in there. All of this stuff right now is in there. And he's then thrown into prison. And as we read the story, at least the way the story is written, he's an innocent man who's now thrown in prison for he's the outsider, framed, framed or whatever, accused of a crime that he did not commit. And he's now thrown in prison. And no one knows who he is. No one cares where he is. Can you imagine? His own family doesn't know or care where he is. At least as far as he knows. Maybe his father does, but no siblings certainly don't. And Potiphar and his wife and all that, they just sold him down the river or whatever it's called. They just sold him out. And now he's in prison. And you and I would say that it would make a lot of sense for somebody in that situation to just completely give up on life. It's been said, and I've shared this before, and I really love this type of framing to think about. The hardest test is not the first test. The hardest test is always the second test. What I mean by that is, when you face the first challenge, as it were, in any given situation, you can almost tell yourself, it's a test, it's a challenge. If I just push through, I'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. And imagine if you do that, and you do see the light, and you make yourself a life in Egypt. So your family hates you, or at least your siblings do. Now you're in Egypt, you're in this guy's house, but at least you made yourself something. And the Torah says about you, meaning objectively, that you are successful. And then you get framed for a crime you didn't commit and thrown in a dungeon, prison. I can't imagine what that looked like 3,000 years ago in Egypt. It probably wasn't wired with an HVAC system, which we could use today, and cable TV. That definitely was not what was going on over there. And you can imagine a human being would rightfully, at that point, say, that's it. I even tried to overcome. It's like you get kicked once, okay, but I got back up. But then you get kicked even harder the second time. And you know what? It might be that the second time was harder than the first. Because I know I said before that, when family abandons you, it's a uniquely harsh form of trauma, which is true. But imagine someone who tells themselves, yeah, but my brothers misunderstood or they were jealous or whatever. You have rationale. You can at least excuse it. Maybe, sometimes when you're too close to someone, it actually breeds a little friction. But imagine you're now in a foreign country and no one knows you. And it's almost like a fresh start. I'm not trying to romanticize this opportunity that he has, but it's almost like a fresh start. And he becomes successful. And even in Egypt, when he did nothing wrong and was trying to do the right thing, he could have done the wrong thing. He could have given in. He could have, whatever. I don't know how that would have ended, but whatever. He could have technically, but he makes the right choice and it lands him up. Prison. Can you imagine the psychology of that situation? What a person would say? That's it. It's over. I'm done. But we know how the story continues. In the prison, again, the second time the Torah tells us, he was such, I don't even know how to describe it. He was so present and helpful that the chief warden of the prison basically puts him in charge. It's crazy. And it says again, for the second time, he was successful. Where? In the prison.
Wow.
Who does that?
The first time it said he was successful, where was it?
Potiphar's house, as a slave.
That was the first time.
That was the first time. And then as a prisoner, he's successful. It's crazy. I feel like for the benefit of the conversation, and I am literally sitting in front of a computer, I can even read very quickly. I'm not going to pull this up online for those on Zoom, but I'm just going to read this. You'll have to take my word for it. This is going to be the fifth reading of this week's Torah portion, Genesis chapter 39, and it says the following. This is the first time. Joseph's master, meaning Potiphar, saw that God was with him, that God granted Joseph success in everything he did.
What does that even mean that Potiphar saw that God was like, what is that like? Was Potiphar Jewish?
I don't know. No, they believed in some higher power.
Even Pharaoh was there.
Nah, they believed in stuff. They believed in stuff.
Gods.
Yeah, something. Yeah, they believed in supernatural stuff.
Is there between a singular and plural?
The complication is it uses the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, the four-letter name of Hashem, which Pharaoh says, I don't know that.
Right.
So you are asking a good question. I don't know how to answer it. Here, Vayehi. I'm sorry. That's this. 1 second. I went too far. I'm going to read the Hebrew. Vayehi Hashem et Yosef. God was with Joseph. Vayehi ish matzliach. And he was successful, a successful man. Vayehi bebeit Adonav HaMitzri, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. The next verse says, Vayar Adonav ki Hashem ito, that the master saw that God was with him. V'chol asher hu osa Hashem atzlei, and everything that he touched, he was successful. So it says twice that he was successful and that his master saw that he was successful. Okay, I'm still calling that part one of the story. But then he's thrown in prison, right? And then let me just keep on reading. I'm skipping a little bit. So she's framed for a commit. Joseph's master took hold of him and placed him in the prison where the king's prisoners were incarcerated. He remained in that prison. Oh, you ready? Here we go. I'm going to just read the English. God was with Joseph. Again, God was with him and made him well liked among the inmates. He also made the warden of the prison favor him. The warden of the prison placed all the prisoners who were in the prison in Joseph's charge. And whatever was done there was done under Joseph's direction. You imagine? He's a prisoner. He's running the place. It's crazy. But wait, I know you're wondering, but you said that it says successful again. One more verse. The warden of the prison could not find fault in anything that was under Joseph's charge, for God was with him, and God granted him success in whatever he did in the Hebrew, va'asher hu oseh, and everything he did, Hashem matzliach. God made successful. I want to share something that I've shared before, but I think it's maybe the most important thing that we can hear in life. I really do think so. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how you got there. You have a choice at every moment whether or not you are going to rise or fall. Meaning, you can tell yourself, I'm a victim. I'm a victim of family. I'm a victim of circumstance. I'm a victim of strangers. I'm a victim of the system. And then be a victim. Or you can tell yourself that I'm here and God is with me. You know what it means that God was with him? God is with everybody. What does it mean God was with him? He felt it, or he was open to it. And there's no better way to frame it than, again, I mentioned this in a different class recently, that ultimately, years later, he was in prison and I wrote this in the email, he was in prison for 12 years. This wasn't, you read it in the Chumash, you read it in the Torah, you read it in the verses and okay, so
couple weeks.
No, next week. It's not even next week. 10 verses later, he's out. 10 verses later, it took 12 years. 12 years. He wasn't in there for a month or even a year. It's 12 years. Do you know what it means to stay positive and to stay hopeful? Again, I want to circle back to the idea that God was with him. So years later, when his brothers finally arrive in Egypt and they don't know that he's there and they're looking to buy food because there's a famine, right? And he sees them and he notices them, but they don't recognize him. And he takes them on a bit of a ride. He pretends not to know them, whatever. Ultimately, after they're reunited and he reveals his identity to them, and they are shocked and humiliated, and not humiliated, that's the wrong word. They are shocked and what? Embarrassed. Yes, embarrassed and ashamed. But more than that, it's got to be more devastating. Can you imagine? Can you even imagine seeing your brother that you try to kill, and there he is? It's got to be so complicated. I don't even know that there are words to describe that. But they throw themselves at his feet and say, like, forgive us. And he says a line.
Also,
No.
Probably a huge amount of fear as well.
Oh yeah. At this point, he's the second. At this point, spoiler alert, he's the second in command in the entire Egypt. Because remember, this guy's an alchemist. Everything he touches turns to gold. He's successful everywhere. You put him in a slave situation, he's successful. You put him in prison, he's successful. You put him in the government, he's successful. He's running a great food program, right? There's a famine, there's plenty of food. He figured it out. He cracked the code.
Surprised, I couldn't help but think, but like in WWE, like when like the Undertaker's like defeated, and like the Undertaker suddenly appears, like,
literally.
It's like they're just like so shocked.
It's like, how are you even there? Right, exactly.
If you can come back from the dead.
Literally. Right. So what happens? They throw themselves at his feet ultimately. This is after their father dies, and now they feel like he's going to take revenge. He was just waiting, until Jacob passed away. Jacob passed away, and they throw themselves at his feet, and they say, "Forgive us for selling you into Egypt." And he says those words that stand for eternity. He says, "You did not." I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote. I can pull it up, but whatever. Take my word for it. Something along the lines of, "You did not sell me to Egypt. God sent me to Egypt." And that's it. Do I believe that my life is the product of this person kicking me here and that person, swindling me there and that? Or do I believe that wherever I am, Hashem, God Almighty, has put me? What do you mean that God was with him? As I said before, God is with everybody. The question is, do you believe that? Do you believe that wherever you are, it's because God is with you? Or do you believe that, well, my brothers are to blame and I really shouldn't be here? You know what happens if you believe you shouldn't be here? Then you're resisting the opportunities that are here. You're fighting the opportunity. And you're never going to find the light in the darkness if you're fighting it. The only way to find the light in the darkness, the only way to find success wherever you are, is not by fighting it, but by embracing it. And no, I'm not justifying the brother's behavior, but we can separate two realities. One reality is what they chose to do, and that was wrong. That was more than wrong. That was horrific, etc. But from his perspective, if he harps on that, if that becomes his story is he's the guy who was traumatized horrifically by his brothers. If that's his narrative, then where does that go? And what happens next? That's very sad. And it's horrible, but it's very defeatist also. His narrative is, no, God is with me. Where? Right here. And there's amazing things I can do right here. And so here you have a man, and maybe it's that in a positive way. Maybe it's that naivete that I mentioned before. When he tells his brothers, hey, I had this dream. Maybe he retains that, even in Egypt. And he says, you know what? I don't know how I got here. I mean, I kind of know how, but but it doesn't matter. Here I am. What can I do here? And most people, and when I say most people, I don't know what percentage it is, but it's got to be the vast, vast majority of people at some point would shut down and say, my life is over. And that's it. And I don't care about anyone. I don't care about myself. I'm broken. And that's it. And I would say that moment probably would happen, like the final straw that breaks the camel's back, as it were. That final straw would probably have been the moment he gets framed for the crime he doesn't commit. He's trying to do the noble thing. He gets framed for the crime that he didn't commit and thrown into prison. I think most people, that would be the breaking point. That would be like, okay, life is horrible, right? I'm speaking like a clean language here, right? Life is horrible, right? There is no God. People are horrific, right? That's it. I'm out. Like, I'm still here, but I'm like, that's it. But instead, he's running the prison. He's like, all right, guys, let's improve it. It reminds me of the joke about the synagogue sisterhood. You know what the synagogue sisterhood is? It's like the group of the women in the synagogue that do programs and they raise money and everything. So it says, the joke goes, it's not such a, I'll let you decide if it's funny or not. I don't know. It's a little dark. But the joke goes that there's the sisterhood is on the way to an event, and they're in a bus, a coach bus, and the bus tragically flips over and everyone's gone. They go up to heaven, and the angel there is, this is a joke, right? Okay, I don't know if you consider it a joke, but here it is. And they, and the angel says, well, all of you have done such amazing work for the community and volunteering and fundraising, straight to heaven, but there's a glitch in the elevator or whatever. We're going to have to put you down for just temporarily in hell, just for a quick moment, for a few hours until we get everything sorted out with the computer system or whatever it is, the electronics.
They said, does the heat work? Yes.
One second. Yeah, for us, we would take that a little bit. But 1 second. Heaven, the angel gets a call like 5 minutes later from those in charge in hell. You got to get these women out of here. They've already organized a fundraiser. The AC is coming tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like Joseph, you put him in hell, and he's running the place. What was the line? What was the line? 1 second. What was the line? The warden of the prison placed all. There's no comment. This is straight up the verse. Okay, the warden of the prison placed all the prisoners who were in the prison in Joseph's charge, and whatever was done there was under Joseph's direction. The air conditioning, the heating, everything, the food, the meals, right? Hopefully not. The warden of the prison could not find fault in anything that was under his charge, for God was with him, and God granted him success in whatever he did. I know I read it before, but it's to me, Joseph. Okay, to me, there's no greater role model than Joseph. Personally, I can't relate to Adam and Eve. I don't know. I don't know what it means to live in paradise. I mean, I know what it means to be told like you can't have one thing and then the only thing you want is that one thing. I mean, that's a little human, right? It's like you can look everywhere except for there. And I was like, oh, can I just sneak a quick look? It's like maybe a little taste behind the tree. Like, okay, I can relate a little bit. Abraham and Sarah, I don't know. These are like too big. Isaac and Rebecca, I don't know. Jacob and Joseph. Here's a guy that lives a life. He gets beat up a little bit, a lot, right? Not everyone likes him, not even his own family. He's a victim, but he never looks at himself as a victim. And how do we know that? Maybe there were nights when he cried himself to sleep. There probably were. But when his brothers come to him and say, forgive us for selling you as a slave here, and he says to them, don't give yourselves that much credit. I believe in God, and God is in control. I was sent here by God on a mission. And it's not, hindsight is 2020. He lived it all the way through, because if he didn't feel that, he would not have been successful. He would have shut down. There's also something else that I've shared before. There's no one in the Torah that cries as much as Joseph. He cries. I don't know how many times he cries. When he sees his brothers for the first time, he has to run to another room and cry. Then it says he washed his face. Do you know that washing your face after crying so people don't know that you cry has a biblical source? It says that Joseph went to a side room because he was so filled with emotions. He cried, and I'm sure mixed emotions, complicated emotions. He cries, and it says he washed his face. Anyway, that's a side point. the washing face part. But you know what it means? To cry means that your heart is open. How many of us, forget us, God forbid anything like this should happen to us, but how many people, having faced such trauma and abuse and whatever you want to call it, and injustice, their hearts would be so closed. Like, I can't allow my heart to feel anymore because it's been broken in so many times and shattered into so many pieces. How can I be open to feeling? I'm going to protect myself. It's normal. It's a normal human reaction to trauma to create a layer of protection. And this is true on every level. Minor trauma, minor protection, major trauma, major protection. I mean, it's hard to, everyone knows this, right? You're in a relationship and your heart gets broken. How quickly are you ready to run into another relationship? Not that fast, because you want to protect your heart, because it feels really hard. It feels really painful to have your heart broken. And so the first thing you want to do is almost self-preservation / protection, which is, I'm not going to allow myself to be open. Joseph remains open, heart first. He's crying and he's emotive, and he never takes retribution. In fact, he only gives the best to his brothers. He doesn't just talk the talk. It wasn't just a slogan. It wasn't just because his therapist told him that that's a healthy reaction. He genuinely believed that everything that happens is guided by God for a reason. And because of that, where he is right now, although he would not have written that into his own script, but this is the script that he got. This is the deck, the hand that he was dealt. Got to get my card poker analogy correct, right? I don't play poker, but conceptually, this is the hand that he was dealt. And so in life, we have two choices to simplify it, maybe to oversimplify it. I could either complain about the hand that I'm dealt with and say, why do I have this hand? It's not fair. I don't want this hand. How come they get that hand and I get this hand? Or why do I always get the bad hand? It's like, what is it about me? Why does God hate me so much to give me this hand? Or you can say, maybe a little naively, this is the hand I got. What do I do with it? How do I play my hand? And you know what? That's the most honest thing a person can say, because everything else is denying reality. You want to still be at home with your family? Okay. But that's not where you are. You're in Potiphar's house in Egypt. What are you going to do today to elevate this opportunity? That's the question. What, you think our souls want to be here? Let's get Kabbalistic. Where does the soul come from? I can't pinpoint exactly on a map where it comes from, but I'll tell you this. Souls don't come from here. Souls come from higher spiritual realm, the highest of spiritual realms. And then one day, they get the call from the bullpen. You're in the game, right? So the relief pitcher is warming up, and they hand you the ball. Go pitch. Okay, it's not about baseball. The soul gets called down to come into a body. And we know this. Kabbalah teaches this. Forget Kabbalah. It's everywhere. It's in the Mishnah. Bal karchach ata nolad. Val karchach ata chai. It's against your will that you were born and against your will that you live. The soul doesn't want to be here. The soul would rather be at home with family, as it were, whatever that exactly looks like. What, the soul wants to be banished to a cold, well, literally today here, a cold, dark world in which there's so much evil and pain and suffering and loss? That's what the soul wants to get up every morning and face? Of course not. The soul would much rather be home in heaven, in a space of comfort and light and warmth and connection. But the soul is sent below into a body, and now it has to lug around this body. Everywhere it goes, there's a body. Every time it gets inspired, the body says, yeah, but what about lunch? Every time. Every time the soul says, let's go to pray, the body says, I would rather sleep in. And it's a constant battle. Every moment of every day, the soul has to fight for every inch of spiritual space. And how many inches of spiritual space do we give our soul every day? I mean, 24 hours. How much time do we allocate to our soul? Whether that's prayer, study, meditation, mitzvahs, good deeds. How of the 24 hours, does it even hit 1 hour? I mean, this is not a criticism, by the way. This is a reality of human life, because we're working, we're commuting, we're eating, we're sleeping, all of this stuff. We have hobbies, we're golfing, whatever we are, whatever we're doing. And can you imagine the experience of the soul saying, like, why am I here? Like, I would much rather not be here. But the most honest thing the soul could say is that I'm here because God sent me here, just like Joseph. What I'm trying to say is the story of Joseph is the story of us. And not just the story of us, the story of the real you. The real you is not a body. It's not a body. Because we all know that when the time comes, the body will still be there, but there's no life. And when there's no life, what good is the body? What good is the body then? The real life is the soul. And so the story of Joseph is the story of the real you and the real me, the real us. We had it all, right? It's the riches to rags story. And the goal is riches. I'm not talking about actual guilt. What I'm talking about is spiritual opportunity and purpose and really living with that purpose. But it begins with a mindset. And the mindset is, number one, I'm not a victim. Not a victim. That doesn't excuse, right, any behavior that is untoward to me, right? If that were to happen, but I am not a victim. I am a shaliach. I'm a messenger of God. I am on the God squad, right? I am here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And wherever I find myself, there's points of light that need to be extracted through my efforts right here in this space. There's a reason why I have this meeting with that person at this time. And it's not just for the business deal. It's maybe to uplift them. It's maybe to, inspire, throw in some inspiration, or even model what it means to be a mensch, to be a good person, even in the realm of, otherwise cutthroat business. It's about being a light, a point of light amidst what is all too often a cold and dark world. And this is the purpose of every one of us around this table and everyone in this world. Now, not everyone takes on this mission. Some people give up and say, well, if I'm here, might as well enjoy it. So eat, drink, and be merry. And my soul, well, when it surfaces, I'll do my best to push it down and say, shh, have another wing, have a beer, right? Have a substance that'll keep it at bay. But the soul has a need, and the soul's need is to find the light and to connect with it. It's not just finding the light. As we've said before, Kabbalah teaches that God embeds in the reality around us these tremendous opportunities. What's called in Kabbalah sparks, holy sparks. And it's embedded in everything around us. And our job, our mission is to engage in the stuff of the world, meaning eating and drinking and working and activities and whatever it is. And again, like I said a moment ago, find the opportunity, find the purpose. And that is what is called elevating the sparks. Everyone is sent to where their sparks are found. God guides the footsteps of human beings. If you find yourself in a space and you're not sure why, Kabbalah has an answer. It's because there's some purpose. There's an opportunity that only you can unlock right here. You're not a victim of a delay. You're not a victim of circumstance. There are no accidents. It's all perfectly orchestrated and designed for you to do the next great thing, just like Joseph. This is a much higher way to live. When I say higher, I mean much more intentional way to live. You know, Western society tells us that basically life is about consuming, getting more stuff. To what end? I'm still not sure. So I have all the stuff. Nope, it's not the latest stuff. You have the iPhone. What are we up to? 17, I think. Are we up to 17 now? Yeah. Yes, but when the 18 comes out, the 17 will be so last year. You still have the 17? Fat. Gross. The 17? Yeah. What can you even do with that thing? Paperweight. Relegate it, throw it out.
May as well use a flip phone.
Might as well. By the way, speaking of which.
Wow.
It's a smart flip phone. Anyway, but it's only the 5. They're up to 7.
It's not.
I have my eye on the 8. Again. Yeah. I feel like that's too complicated for me.
Well, that's because yours is worthless now, so his is
Samsung.
Yeah, the Samsung. Okay, look, here's the point. The point is we live in a society where the messaging all around us is that you need stuff. You need this, you need that. And I get it because everyone's trying to sell something and make money off us. So it's like you need this, you need by that, you need by the other. So it's all about like you need something to acquire, to accumulate. And Kabbalah says the question is not what you need, it's about what you're needed for, which is way more empowering than the other way, right? I mean, yeah, we can walk through life being needy. I mean, that's what Western society or Madison Avenue tells us. You are needy. You need this, you need that, but that's like very, what kind of self-image is that? I'm a needy person? Ew, gross. For how many years are you needy? For 120 years, please God, we're needy? Whoa, get over it. So but imagine if the narrative is not needy. I'm needed. I'm needed for a mission, for a purpose. I'm needed to make the world a bit brighter where I am in my space. I'm not looking to fix some other problem somewhere else. I'm looking to uplift my space. I don't mean like the old music. Remember MySpace?
Yeah, it was Facebook and MySpace.
Was it? Man, MySpace. I haven't thought about MySpace in a while.
Didn't last long.
It did not last long. That would be interesting to take a deep dive as to what happened to MySpace. Anyway, I digress. It's not about fixing somewhere else. It's about fixing MySpace. Fixing where I am right here. Not fixing, uplifting, elevating. There's purpose, there's light here. So here's what I want to do for the last few minutes. I want to read inside because we're in the middle of a piece that talks about a mindset and a meditation for when we eat. I think it's for when we eat. And then the next chapter is going to be for when we work. And it's transformative. And you're eating the same food, perhaps, or you're working the same job, but your mindset is different. It's not about me consuming the food. It's about me elevating the food, meaning taking the energy and then leveraging it for the next good thing that I do. It's about not just earning money, but it's about, as I said before, doing work in a fitting, proper, menschy way. And it's taking some of the resources and helping others in need with what I receive from my work. It's a whole different mindset. All right. So without further ado, please take and pass. Thank you, Toba. Yaakov, please take and pass. We'll have some extra. Don't worry. It's all good. All right. Now, I'm going to pull this up for our online crew as well.
Sort of like Tanya, isn't it?
Yeah. What I love about this, what I really love about this is just how articulate these Kabbalistic ideas are in the text that we're about to read. It's really articulate. It really like fleshed out. Thank you. All right, we're just waiting for me to open up this this file so I can share the PDF online with our crew. All right, so you have it in front of you. We are on page, one second. Here we go. We're on page 56. Okay, so it's the page marked 56 in your booklets. And where it says sacrificial elevation. Some of these themes we spoke about last time, which would have been, I guess, 2 weeks ago, I think, because we were off last week for Thanksgiving. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Let me read, and we will take it from there. Sacrificial elevation. He's talking about eating food. When one's intention in eating and drinking, and again, the key word here is intention. It might be the same meal, but why are you eating? To consume or to elevate? Because you're needy or because you're needed? When one's intention is to gain in eating, is to gain strength for prayer and Torah study, particularly when he intends to be energized by the godly force, meaning the energy within the food, not just the physical calories, but the divine spark within the food. And that's very important because there's two ways to be energized. You can be energized from the actual calories and meaning the physical energy of the food, or you can have even a deeper meditation, which is there's divine light in everything, including the salad or the bagel or whatever it is, or the eggs that are in front of me. It's not just physical energy that's in here, but there's divine energy. And what I can do is I can, in this kind of this ecosystem, I can assimilate, I can take in this spiritual energy and include it in mine. And then together with that energy and my energy, we can then do the next great thing. So let's continue. So then with that intention, then in the middle of that sentence, when he or she, right, utilizes this energy for prayer and recites Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that right, God is one, the godly spark within the food ascends as an offering, meaning it's an elevation. It's reconnecting the spark with its source. Let's continue. Whether he truly relates to the concept of God as one, meaning that God is the only reality of everything that exists, including the salad, or he only understands the idea and admits its truth by merely serving God through its inspiration, as explained elsewhere. And let me just explain the difference. A person might feel it, like I feel that this orange blossom tea or whatever it is I really feel that God is flowing through this, or I don't feel it, but I know it to be true. Those are two different realities. Like I can either feel it, or intellectually, like I appreciate that that's the truth, because where else is it coming from? So either way, or third option, or he contemplates the Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto L'Olam Vad, blessed be the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever, which is a lower level of divine unity, which means, as I explained 2 weeks ago, it's not just that I believe, it's not that I recognize or I feel God's perspective, that everything is a manifestation of God, but I have my perspective of I exist, but everything is being powered by God, two different perspectives, ours or God's, and awakens, let's continue to the next page, a love, 58. For God, when reciting the words that follow, you shall love the Lord your God. In all of these cases, he says the godly spark ascends as a burnt offering and a sacrifice, and he's using that terminology very specifically. What he's saying is that our lunch today, on Sunday, December 7th, 2025, can be as holy as an experience of offering an offering on the altar of the Holy Temple in ancient Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. And a person might say, what are you talking about? I don't, first of all, I have no idea what happened then, let alone how that's what I'm doing now. Here's what you need to know. What is an offering? An offering means elevation. When I eat or drink, as I'm about to do, and this helps me study, or in this case, teach, or whatever gives me the energy to do the next big thing, I'm taking the energy and uplifting it. I'm not just consuming it, but I'm elevating it. Let's continue. Just as animals offered upon the altar would be consumed by a heavenly fire rising until their source in the world of Tohu, that is the world of chaos, the primordial world of Tohu, and creating a sweet aroma for God, as it were. Obviously, that's not a literal concept, but a metaphorical concept. The idea that it's uplifting the energy to a higher purpose. So it is with food. When a person refines it and causes it to ascend to God as a burnt offering and a sacrifice, it creates a sweet aroma for God. Again, not literally, but it's conceptual. This adds spiritual light on high, which is also accumulated within the person's soul, as mentioned earlier. In addition, when one utilizes the strength from eating for Torah study, not just prayer, it creates a sweet aroma and adds spiritual energy, as we just said, regarding prayer. What's the bottom line of this? The bottom line is there's two ways to eat. You can eat because you're hungry, or you can eat because you are a messenger and you have a role and you have a mission. Eating because you're hungry is being a consumer. And you know what? Animals do the same thing. Animals in the jungle or whatever it is, squirrels in the parking lot or whatever, they do the same thing. Do they eat the nuts? They eat the nuts, right? Is that what do squirrels eat? Do we know what squirrels eat? Yaakov, as our resident squirrel expert.
They say the prayer over the nut and then you know.
Good, but they eat the nuts.
They're nuts.
Okay.
They are what they eat.
They are what they eat. Good. All right. So the squirrels and they also ate my peaches from my old peach tree. I told that story, right? Cleared out the tree overnight, back in the day. All right, back to the story. Squirrels also eat nuts. The question is, are we a squirrel? It's a weird question to ask. Are we just a more intelligent animal doing the same thing that an animal does? I'm hungry, so I eat. And the truth is, if that's the case, then ask yourself the question, what gives me the right to destroy something for my own pleasure? What gives me the right? I'm not just about eating meat, because the vegetable is also alive. What gives me the right to sunder, to end its life for me? Because I'm stronger and bigger? Would that fly in any other context? Sir, why did you take advantage of that other person? Well, because I'm stronger and bigger. That's valid? It's not valid. What gives us the right? This is not about eating animals only. What gives us the right to pull out, I don't know, a carrot, a potato, I don't know. Think about it. What gives me the right to pluck a fruit from a tree? The only answer, the only viable answer Kabbalistically is if we're going to help it achieve its purpose for being. Why does it exist? It exists as an opportunity. It is not just an apple on the tree or a peach on the tree. It's not just a fruit or a carrot or a potato. It's not just that. It's divine energy that's also locked into this item. And it's waiting to be expressed. Can you imagine? The carrot also has a soul. But how does that carrot soul express itself? You know how it expresses itself? When you and I go over to it and utilize it as part of something higher than ourselves. If we just consume it and that's it, that's it. The carrot got to be eaten by you. It's a little no offense. That's a little underwhelming. But if we eat the carrot, again, it sounds offensive. I don't mean to be offensive. But if we eat the carrot and then do something positive, do a mitzvah, study some Torah, say a prayer, whatever it is, something more elevatory, then that carrot becomes part of something greater. It could never do that. A carrot can't give charity. It just can't, because it's a carrot. Carrots can't help someone who's in need. It can't. But you know when it can? When you eat it and then you help someone and you use the energy in that carrot and the divine force in the carrot. I don't know why I'm picking on carrots. It's not only about carrots. It's about everything. It's about all the food that we eat. It's all about intention. It's about intentionality. Why are we here? Are we here because we're the product of some sort of, like Joseph, some sort of spiritual trauma? Our souls were unfortunately sent down here into this world, and now we have to deal with the aftermath and the fallout of this. Or is it that, it's all accidental and there's no purpose anyway and whatever, just live life and, live today because we might be gone tomorrow? Kabbalah says no. Your soul is in your body, not by accident and not because of some sort of spiritual trauma, but it's rather for a purpose and a mission. And we achieve that purpose and mission every moment of every day. I asked before, how many hours a day or how, do we dedicate to our soul? With this mindset, it could be 24 hours. 24 hours. What? Even when I sleep? Yeah. What's your intention with sleep? What's the intention? If your intention is to get rest so that the next day you can do something great, guess what? That sleep is a critical part of your higher service. And then it becomes an elevatory experience. You can sleep like a behemoth. How do you translate behemoth?
Animal.
You can sleep like an animal, or you can sleep like a mensch. Two different experiences. Either I'm sleeping because I'm exhausted, or I'm sleeping to gain energy for the next day. Because there's light that I need to help create in my world, in my space, tomorrow. And I can't do that if I don't have rest. Make sense? Yeah. But in this way, everything, eating and drinking and sleeping and working, next chapter 5. The same is true regarding businessmen and women who interact with the physical in the course of their dealings. We're going to get there next week. But how much time do we spend around food and work and rest? A lot of time. That's many hours of the day. Like out of 24 hours, that might be, if we work for 8 hours and we sleep for 8 hours, ideally, right? 16. And then food is another, I don't know. That's a lot of hours. And it all could be framed in the context of the higher work that we have to do in this world. It's amazing transformation. And it all goes back to me as a model. It all goes back to Joseph. Here's a guy who never just, saw his circumstances as circumstantial and who believed that, whatever, it's all meaningless. He said, no, there's purpose here. There's a reason why I'm here. Let me achieve it. And you and I can do the same. There's a reason why I have this job, why I'm in this place, why I have these coworkers, why I have these meetings. There's a reason. Let me find that reason. Let me elevate something. Let me uplift in some way. And you know what? Sometimes it's not the most holy experience. It's just smiling at someone else. It's asking them how they're doing. What I didn't mention today, but I've mentioned countless times, is what gets Joseph out of prison. This week's Torah portion. At the end, we come full circle. It says that he's in prison and he sees 2 other prisoners. And he says to them, Madua panechem ro'im hayom. Why do you look sad today? And they tell him, because we had these dreams and we don't know what they mean. And he said, dreams? Tell me your dreams. Maybe I can help with God's help. Tell him the dreams. And he interprets the dreams. And he's right. And the butler, who's one of these 2 guys who gets out, 2 years later tells Pharaoh, when Pharaoh has a dream, I know a guy who does dreams. He's in prison, but I have a dream. I got a dream guy. I got a guy, right? Every Jew's got a guy, right? HVAC, I got a guy. Car issue, I got a guy. Dreams, I got a guy. Joseph. Not like the butler was Jewish, but whatever. But he also had a guy. That's how Joseph gets out. He sees 2 guys that are a little bit depressed, and he says, what's wrong? And he cares to ask, and he cares to listen, and he cares to help. And that's how he gets out. One smile, one good morning, one how is your day going, one is there anything wrong, can change your life and their life. So is there purpose? Is there meaning to all of the stuff that we do throughout the day? Yes. Yes, there is. If you're open to it and if you can embrace being needed. If you want to be needy, fine, have it your way. But be needed. The world needs us. Our world needs us. Our coworkers need us. Our friends need us. Our family needs us to step up and be the people that we were meant to be. Thank you for joining today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll pick it up next week with chapter 5. When we talk about how to a mindset for work, business, whether it's Wall Street or whatever, Peachtree Road or street or avenue or lane. There's a mindset for work as well. Okay, and I hope by next week my voice will be back in perfect order and we'll be up and running. All right.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Good to see you. Remind me your name? Izzy. Ari. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Ellen, good to see you. Dr. Maxie, great to see you. David and Sarah, great to see you.
Thank you.
Have a pleasure. Have a great
Good
week.
to